When the stock market was booming, my husband David secretly mortgaged our house without telling me and invested all the money in the stock market. When the stock market crashed, David absconded with the money with his mistress. In order to pay off my debts, I left my twins in the care of my mother-in-law and worked day and night. On the day when I finally paid off my debt, David came back with his mistress and tried to kick me out. His son Andy said coldly, "Unlucky star, if it weren't for you, my dad would be a rich man and I would be a second-generation rich." The mother-in-law also smiled and said, "My son David is back. I can finally enjoy my life." Xiao San sprayed me with a high-pressure water gun. A phoenix that falls into the water is no better than a chicken, a poor creature that is not loved. While dodging, I was hit by a passing car. Only my daughter hugged me tightly, crying with red eyes, "Mom, don't leave me." When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the stock bull market in 2006. If I could do it all over again, I would let them experience what it feels like to have nothing. I was shaken awake. When I opened my eyes, I saw David's young face, neat short hair, and full of energy. His eyes were red, and he shook my shoulders excitedly. "Wife, I'm rich, hit me twice." I clenched my fists hanging by my legs, anger filled my chest, and I raised my palms and punched left and right. 2 slaps were so powerful that my entire palms felt numb and swollen. The pent-up resentment in my heart seemed to have found an outlet. David didn't expect that I, who had always been gentle and taciturn, suddenly became like a different person. He covered his cheeks in disbelief and looked at me in a daze. "Wife, what's wrong with you?" My mother-in-law heard the noise in the kitchen and rushed in carrying my son Andy on her back. 5-year-old son Andy hung on his grandmother's back, his legs still kicking. "Grandma, let's continue playing horseback riding." I suddenly realized that there is no such thing as a tree that rots suddenly. They are corroded and hollowed out little by little over time, until one day, with a slight push, the seemingly tall and healthy tree will collapse. In the mother-in-law's patriarchal mindset, her son David was the hope for carrying on the family line, so she indulged him endlessly. He indulged his son David in the first half of his life and his grandson in the second half. In my previous life, I was so busy making money to pay off my debts that I had no time to take care of the education of my 2 children. My son Andy became more and more arrogant and domineering, while my sensible daughter bent her back and became a brother-supporting demon under the brainwashing of her mother-in-law day and night. She dropped out of school early to work just to help her brother earn money to buy a house. In those 15 years of my previous life, I lived like a joke and made my daughter suffer a lot. When my mother-in-law saw David with red and swollen cheeks, she hurriedly put my son Andy down and looked at me with angry eyes. "Elena, are you crazy? Why did you hit my son David?" My son Andy picked up a magazine on the table and threw it at me. "Old woman, I'm going to beat you to death." Luna stumbled in from outside, holding a bunch of celery in her hand, and timidly stood in front of me. "Brother, you can't hit Mom, it will hurt Mom." "How can an old woman feel pain? Grandma said she has a very thick skin." I squatted down and hugged Luna's small body, tears in my eyes. "Luna." She puffed up her cheeks and blew gently on my forehead. "Blow, and it won't hurt Mommy." "Mom, it doesn't hurt. It won't hurt anymore. My dear daughter, I will never let you be crushed by the burden of life again in this life." I suppressed my anger, and when I looked up again, my eyes instantly turned red, and I said to David timidly, "Hubby, didn't you just force me to hit you twice? I was frightened by your expression and thought you were possessed. I didn't mean to do that." David waved his hand casually. "Forget it, you didn't mean it." His son Andy immediately jumped into his arms and said, "Dad, does it hurt?" "Andy will blow it for you." David enjoyed it very much. He picked up his son Andy and did a spinning airplane hug. His daughter Luna looked at them with envy. I hugged Luna's little body silently and whispered in her ear, "Next time, Mommy will take Luna to the amusement park to ride Dumbo." My daughter Luna looked at me with sparkling eyes and kissed me on the cheek. The mother-in-law was very nervous beside him. Okay, don't let Andy fall. What are you so happy about?" "Mom, I'm telling you, we're going to be rich soon," he said happily, not caring about the pain on his face. "Do you know how much the stock market rose today? A full 200 points. My stock rose by 15%. I made 3,000 yuan in one day. My son David is really promising, so he deserves extra food." My mother-in-law turned to look at me and said, "Why are you standing there? Go and cook." I hesitantly responded with an okay, turned around, picked up Luna, and hid in the kitchen. I threw the celery in her hand into the trash can and kissed her little face several times. Mama's baby girl, Luna, we're going out for a nice dinner. But Grandma asked Luna to pick the vegetables. Luna, just listen to your mother from now on. While the three people in the room were immersed in happiness, I picked up my bag, carried Luna out the door, and ordered a large children's meal at KFC. Luna was happily eating her fries, but I was lost in thought. David likes to trade stocks and always says that stocks are one of the easiest ways to make money in the world and a powerful tool for poor people to turn their lives around. After several years of trading, the business was always lukewarm and the earnings were not as much as the interest I earned from saving in the bank. But in 2005, the stock market began to usher in a bull market, and the equity split reform became a catalyst. The signs of this trend first emerged in 2006, and stocks doubled overnight. It reached its peak in 2007, rising all the way from 2,700 points to its historical high of 6,124 points in October. Getting rich overnight is no longer empty talk. Everyone is a stock god, and stocks are the only thing people discuss on the streets. It was also at that time that David got his first pot of gold. At the beginning, he worked hard for this family. The first thing he did after he became rich was to sell the house allocated by our unit. With the money he earned, we bought a large house by the river. I thought that life would finally be sweet after all the hardship, but I didn't expect that the saying "men become bad when they have money" would come true, albeit late. What was even more unexpected was that long before buying the house, he had already been involved with Kelly, an intern at his company. The two of them traveled around under the pretext of a business trip. He bought Kelly a bag worth tens of thousands of dollars, let them stay in luxurious 5-star hotels, and flew business class when they went out. But when he came back, he accused me of not knowing how to live, spending money lavishly, and not being able to educate my children. All this is just because his mentality has changed. Now that he has become rich, he feels that I, his wife who has shared his hardships with him, am no longer worthy of him. But he forgot that the money he earned from stock trading was saved bit by me, and it was our common property. Unfortunately, greed is the devil. When the stock market was booming, he quit his job, frantically cashed out his credit cards, and borrowed all of my mother's pension in the name of our 2 children. Using this capital and interest compounding, by 2007, he had become a multimillionaire. When he goes out, people always call him Boss David. In June, everyone said that this bull market would definitely break through 10,000 points. He secretly mortgaged the house we lived in without telling me and invested all the cash in the stock market. By the time the peak appeared in October, only half a year had passed, and the entire stock market had been halved, and all the money David had invested at a high level was lost. He was heavily in debt, and at Kelly's instigation, the two of them secretly sold their assets, fled to Hong Kong with the money on the card, and left all the debts to me, his wife who had been with him through thick and thin. In an era when the average housing price in Pudong, Shanghai was less than 10,000 yuan, I became in debt of 2 million yuan overnight. Looking at my 2 young children, I gritted my teeth and handed them over to my mother-in-law, left my public office where I had little money and little leisure, and started working in real estate sales under the scorching sun. Fortunately, when the stock market was not doing well, the housing market continued to rise. I went from selling apartments to getting involved in luxury homes. During the past 10 years, I got up earlier than the chickens, slept later than the dogs, and spent every dollar carefully. Finally, I paid off all my debts. As my life seemed to be getting better, my son Andy became more and more indifferent to me, and only called me mom when he asked for money. My daughter became extremely timid, afraid of light and people. The doctor said she had depression. When I was at my wit's end, David, who had been missing for many years, came back with Kelly. My mother-in-law greeted them with a big smile. "You lost weight outside, and now all the debts have been paid off. From now on, you can live at home peacefully." I still remember her smug look. "It's all this unlucky guy's fault. He has been paying back this little money for so many years, and my son David has to suffer outside." Kelly took her arm and put a large gold bracelet on her hand. "Mom, David, and you will enjoy happiness from now on." My son Andy stood aside obediently, calling me little mom all the time. "Dad, stepmother, you don't know what a hard life I've been through. This old woman is always away from home. I don't know which wild man she's fooling around with. I'm going to kick her out right now." My husband's betrayal and the huge loan didn't crush me, but my son Andy's backstabbing chilled my heart. I wanted to take my daughter and leave the rented house. With my own hands, our life would not be too bad. But unexpectedly, Kelly picked up someone else's high-pressure car washing gun on the ground and sprayed it at me. "Everyone, come and see this shameless woman, who is having an affair outside and cheating on her husband." In order to avoid the impact of the water gun, I retreated repeatedly. "That's enough. If you keep doing this, I'm going to call the police." Kelly laughed wildly. "A phoenix in distress is no better than a chicken, a poor creature that is not loved." My daughter Luna tried to grab the water gun from Kelly, but David kicked her hard in the chest and she stumbled back. A car was coming at high speed, and I rushed forward, grabbed my daughter's arm and exchanged positions with her. The next moment, I was hit hard by the high-speed car. When I was dying, I saw my daughter running towards me, crying and shouting, "Mom, don't leave me." My daughter hasn't called me mom for a long time since she suffered from depression. Fortunately, it was not too late and her life should not have ended like this. Maybe even God thought that I had a really hard life and gave me a chance to start over. Now I want to dig out the rotten flesh attached to my body, throw off the shackles of morality, and live a good life for my daughter and myself. Hatred gathered in my eyes. I will also make their family pay the price to commemorate my innocent death in my previous life. Luna cut the fries in half and only ate the slightly burnt ones that fell outside. I asked curiously, "Luna, why don't you eat these?" She blinked her big round black eyes and replied, "Grandma said that I should leave the best for my brother. He is the future of our family. I should think about him all the time, and that way my parents will be happy too." I was stunned and felt sad. My daughter is only 5 years old, but my mother-in-law has already instilled in her the idea of supporting her brother. Gradually, she completely lost herself. "Luna, everything today belongs to Luna, we are not taking it home." Her eyes lit up instantly. "Really? Can you give me the toy, too?" I nodded solemnly. "Later, Mommy will take Luna to Grandma's house to play." "Does Luna like Grandma?" Luna loves her grandmother the most. She would dress Luna in beautiful dresses and braid her hair into the most beautiful braids. Unfortunately, Luna's braids were cut off by her grandmother. My eyes welled up with tears. My mother-in-law disliked Luna's long hair, so she secretly cut it into an uneven boy's style while she was sleeping. Luna cried so hard that day that my heart was broken. His son Andy was clapping and laughing. "Little bald head, sister is a little bald head, so ugly." That was the first time I hit Andy hard. "That's your sister. You, as a younger brother, don't respect her and laugh at her. Have your upbringings been eaten by dogs?" Andy cried out in pain. "Grandma said that I am the younger brother and my sister should give in to me." When my mother-in-law came, she slapped her thighs and cried loudly on the ground. "I'm old and my wife dislikes me. I just saw that the weather was getting hot and was worried that Luna might have lice on her head. What did I do wrong?" David is a filial son, and his father-in-law likes to beat his mother-in-law when he is drunk. So David felt sorry for his mother and suggested that his mother-in-law help take care of the child. This way she could also escape the beatings from her father-in-law in her hometown. Thinking of my gentle and kind mother-in-law being beaten every day, I felt bad, so I agreed. Who would have thought that my mother-in-law, who was so gentle and kind before marriage, would start to act like a troublemaker after coming to my house? Later I realized that it wasn't my father-in-law's fault, but my mother-in-law deserved a beating. But she was very good at acting outside. She would hold my hand and praise me in front of the neighbors in various ways, leaving me with no way to defend myself. David ran away with the money, and neighbors came to persuade him, "Your mother-in-law is so good to you, you can't abandon your young children and run away alone." But damn, as long as I'm immoral, no one can kidnap me anymore. I touched Luna's hair with tears in my eyes. "No, Grandma likes Luna the most and only praises Luna for being beautiful." I called a car and took Luna to my mother's house. Come here, who is it?" My mother's voice came from afar, healthy and full of energy. Tears welled up in my eyes. I haven't seen my mother in many years. Ever since I got into debt, my mother couldn't bear to see how hard I was working, so she sold the old public housing unit she lived in. The money from selling the house helped me pay off some of my debts. She moved to Zhejiang to live with my aunt. Later, when she fell ill, she often blamed herself, saying that she should not have let me be morally blackmailed by David's relatives in the first place and take on this debt, which led to a lifetime of hard work, abuse from my mother-in-law, alienation from my son Andy, and suffering for my daughter. She should have advised me to leave that home and take my 2 children with me. No matter how hard or tiring it was, at least we could be together as a family. Later, housing prices in Pudong grew rapidly and my mother could no longer return to Shanghai. She eventually passed away due to illness, and even before her death she couldn't let go of me, her incompetent daughter. This is her regret and my sin. Mom. The door opened and I saw my mother, wearing an apron and holding a spatula in her hand, in my arms. Luna followed suit, hugging my mother's thighs and calling sweetly, "Grandma. Why did you come back suddenly? Where's David? Where's Andy?" When my mother saw my red eyes, her expression turned cold and she pulled me into the house and let Luna go to the balcony to play with the puppy. What happened? Were you bullied? My mother has always disliked my mother-in-law and thinks she is narrow-minded. There is no dowry in Shanghai, and she is reluctant to even buy the 3 golds. She often said, "You will suffer in the future if you have a family like this." At that time, I wanted to marry David and felt that my mother looked down on him because he was from another place. It was later proved that old ginger is indeed spicy. "No, I just missed you." My mother looked at me with scrutiny, and I rubbed the corner of my clothes nervously. "You have always been a quiet person since you were little. You are unwilling to tell Mom when you are wronged, let alone tell me that you miss me. If you encounter any problems, tell Mom." I hugged my mother's waist gently. It turns out that my mother knows me best. It's great that I have a mother again. "Mom, David will come to you to borrow money soon. Remember not to lend it to him." "You?" I said calmly. "He cheated on me, and I decided to divorce him." My mother pursed her lips and walked into the house silently. I followed her a little uncomfortably, only to see her take out the passbook and put it into my hand. "Take it. Since you have decided to divorce, hurry up and find a house, a lawyer, and fight for the custody of the child." My mother didn't even ask why. I lowered my eyes. The red passbook in my hand was as heavy as a piece of gold, with exactly 300,000 yuan on it. This includes the compensation my father received after the car accident, as well as the pension she has saved over the years. "Mom, I don't want the money. I have it." "What is there?" "You and I don't know that all my savings have been spent on their family." I thought about the pitiful few $1,000s on the card and shut up silently. Suddenly thinking of something, I held my mother's hand tightly. "Come with me somewhere. If I had to do it all over again, I would never put myself in that situation again. The first thing I would do is to solve the financial difficulties." After marriage, David felt sorry for his mother's hard life, so he gave his salary card to her, saying that he wanted to give her a sense of security. My daily expenses are all paid with my salary. If my mother hadn't given me a subsidy from time to time, I wouldn't even have a few $100s, let alone a few thousand. I left Luna in the care of our neighbor, Grandma Zhang. We took a taxi directly to the exchange, and there were crowds of people at the entrance. At that time, to register a stock account, you had to go offline to handle it. 300,000 was enough for us to become VIP customers here. When the securities manager saw the cash on our cards, he smiled so much that the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes formed deep grooves. "Sister, come here, how much are you prepared to invest?" Although the stock market had started to rise at the end of 2006, most people were still in a wait-and-see stage. I waved my hand and said, "All of them, name it after my mother." My mother nervously squeezed my hand. "Are you crazy? Elena." "Mom, trust me. Leave this account with me. I will make you a multimillionaire in 2 years." The intense light in my eyes made my mother slowly loosen her grip. She murmured to herself, "You're crazy." After the manager completed all the procedures, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. My mother touched the piece of paper and couldn't believe it. I immediately went to the lobby and bought Guangzhou Shipyard International for 300,000 yuan. At $1.02 per share, with 250,000 shares in the account, the price will rise all the way to 77 within the next year. 300,000 will become 20 million. And without my mother's capital, how can David make the interest and become a successful boss? The pager in my backpack kept ringing. I picked up the phone, and my mother-in-law yelled on the phone, "Elena, I asked you to cook, where the hell have you been? Do you want to starve us to death?" Andy, his son, also chimed in, "Old woman, you want to starve me to death." David waited until my mother-in-law finished scolding him before he said leisurely, "Honey, please come back soon. Andy is crying from hunger." I started crying without saying a word. "Honey, it's great that you called. My mom fainted and the hospital asked me to pay the bill. Please transfer 10,000 yuan to me. I need it urgently." "What? Elena, you are asking for too much. Do you think 10,000 is just straw paper that can be blown away by the wind? Doesn't your father have a large amount of compensation for the car accident? Where is the money?" When it came to money, David immediately fell silent, leaving the battlefield to my mother-in-law, and he himself disappeared. "Mom, my mom used that money for investment, but it turned out that the investment firm was a scammer. She went to get the money today and found out that the firm had run away. She was so angry that she fainted." "David, your mother has no money?" "Yes, husband, please give me the money quickly, my mother is still waiting for me." The person on the other end of the phone stammered, "Wife, I don't have any money right now. Why don't you ask your aunt or uncle to borrow some first?" I cried even louder, "Didn't you just say that you made a lot of money from stocks? You should take it out first. This is a matter of life and death for me." "No, that won't work. My stocks are on the rise, and I can make several thousand tomorrow. I'll transfer 500 to you first, and you can figure out the rest yourself." I lowered my eyes and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of my lips. How blind I was in my previous life that I couldn't see this man's selfish nature. I heard my mother-in-law's low voice on the other end of the line, which was full of malice along with the rustling sound of the landline. "Andy, cry quickly so your dad doesn't have to transfer money to the old woman." The son Andy's cries came, mixed with his childish voice. "The old woman came to cheat my father of his money. I want a beautiful aunt, not an old woman." David hung up the phone in a hurry. My mother looked at me with a worried look on her face. "Elena, Andy?" The volume of the pager is loud, so my mother could hear everything that was said on the phone clearly. Yes, without his own son, Andy would call his mother an old woman. I even guessed that the beautiful aunt my son Andy was talking about was Kelly. The remaining reluctance to part with my son Andy was completely gone. "Mom, no matter whether David cheated on me or not, I can only get custody of one of the two children." My mother frowned slightly and wiped away the tears from the corners of my eyes with her fingers. "Mom supports you, you can do whatever you want." I gently rubbed her palm with my cheek. "Mom, come with me to a place tomorrow. In another 6 months, I will be free." When it comes to making decisions, my mother is much more decisive than me. I called my aunt and asked her to help me take care of Luna for 2 days. Luna was so happy to see her aunt and waved goodbye to me happily. Considering my mother's health, I ordered a full physical examination for her in the hospital. In her previous life, she was always thinking about me day and night. She even took odd jobs after retirement to help me pay off more of my debts, which ruined her health. Fortunately, after the examination, except for a little arthritis, everything else was healthy. This also relieves my worries. Before leaving, I specifically mentioned this to my mom. "The staircase apartment is too high. Going up and down the stairs hurts your knee joints. Several real estate projects have been launched recently. If you have time, pay more attention to them." My mother nodded repeatedly. "Yes, we need to change. There won't be any suitable schools for Luna when she goes to school. There is no rush to change houses. After all, I only have a few $1,000s in my hand now. A good cook cannot cook without rice." After parting with my mother, I returned to the old house at the right time. At this time every day, my mother-in-law would take Andy to the square to dance. When I got home, I saw shoes thrown randomly at the door, dishes piled up in the kitchen, and clothes scattered all over the sofa. I couldn't help but twitch the corner of my eye. Normally I would just clean it up if I couldn't stand it. But now, it's none of my business. Since the moral quality has declined, mastitis has been cured. I went into the bedroom and found my ID and the property certificate. This house is a welfare housing allocated by my unit. They bought it before they got married and it cost them $80,000 in total. Because it was a welfare housing, David couldn't add his name to it. My mother-in-law was very angry at the time and refused to give me the agreed 8,000 yuan to buy the 3 gold items. In the previous life, David coaxed her into selling her house and buying a bigger one. The premarital property became shared by the couple after marriage, and all the debts also became shared by the couple. In this life, I will think faster and act more decisively than him. David hasn't contacted me since I asked him for money yesterday. I called their company's front desk and lied that David had left a document at home. The front desk told me that David was on a business trip for a month. I sneered. It was at this time in his previous life that he and Kelly became completely close. In this life, he still couldn't control his own little bit of flesh, which just gave me time. When I got back to the office, I quietly approached my colleague Fanny. I complimented her on her fashionable outfit. She glanced at me lazily and said, "You're the only one who can act like you're 40 when you're only 30. Why are you working so hard?" "I don't want to either. My husband has been going crazy lately. He wants me to sell the house and invest in stocks for him. He says it will definitely make him rich." "Does your brother want to buy a house?" Fanny was drawing her eyebrows. She raised her eyebrows and sneered, "How much do you want to sell this house for?" "Let me tell you first. If it's too expensive, we don't want it. My house is 103 square meters and its market price is around 800,000 yuan. I pursed my lips and said, 700,000 yuan, all at once, but I have to hand over the house a year later. Fanny was excited when she heard it, and she called her brother immediately and decided to buy it that day. After all, I was just a sucker in her eyes. The reason why I chose Fanny is because her family has a strong background and wooing June is ruthless enough. A month later, the money was deposited into my mother's account, which scared her so much that she thought she was being scammed. "Mom, I'm free recently, go look at houses, the more private the better, it doesn't matter if it's a little expensive, just pay a down payment, we can pay it off quickly." My mother laughed and scolded me, saying that I was still having a bad brain. After the house transaction was completed, I submitted my resignation to the company. My old bald boss looked incredulous. "Elena, has your family encountered any difficulties recently? He is really a good man. In my previous life, he persuaded me again and again when I resigned. Knowing that my family was in financial difficulty, he gave me 2,000 yuan in private. But he later fell into the trap of the stock market. In 2008, he lost everything and jumped off a building. We shouldn't let good people down. I decided to help him. No, my family is planning to move to a new house, which is a bit far away, and it would be troublesome for me to go back and forth." The old leader smiled and said, "I heard that your family member is doing well in stock trading. Let's study it together when we have time." I said to him in a serious tone, "Old boss, the stock market is risky. If you make money, you should run away quickly. I think it is more practical to buy a house. This way, the risks can be dispersed." "That makes sense." He gave me a thumbs up. I can't save everyone, but I hope the good people can survive. The resignation procedures went smoothly. I first bought a Nokia high-definition camera phone, went to China Mobile to get a new number, and called the front desk of David's company to find Kelly. A delicate voice came from the phone. "Who is it?" "I'm from the post office. You have an international package that needs to be delivered, but the address on the box is unclear. I need you to give me your address." Kelly had no doubts. Recently she has been having a hot relationship with David, who often buys expensive items for her on the official website. "Please remember that I live in room 201, number 16, New Garden." "Okay, thank you for your cooperation." Looking at the address that I got so easily, I felt very calm inside and smiled slowly with my lips curled. Kelly. In this life, I will beat the dog when it is down. Relying on my familiarity with real estate in various districts from my previous life, I quickly found the 3rd floor of the building opposite her on the internet. The location and view were excellent. I spent $10,000 to hire 2 private detectives to monitor her and her home 24 hours a day. After the Chinese New Year, I transferred Luna's kindergarten to a private school and lived with my mother. My mother-in-law doesn't care either. She only cares about her son Andy and grandson, and she looks down on me. I didn't care. I ate and drank during this time and also signed up for a boxing class. After resigning, I had plenty of time. The bull market of 2007 officially arrived, and everyone's face was filled with smiles. The most discussed topic on the streets is stocks. Even when I went to buy a bottle of soy sauce, the supermarket auntie was chatting non-stop. I knew this was the last carnival before the avalanche. Looking at the photos diligently sent by the private detective, I felt very happy. I took a taxi to the shopping mall, did a lot of shopping, and even had a delicious veal steak there. When I got home, before I even entered the door, my mother-in-law's voice came. "What's wrong with you lately? You come home so late every day and buy so many things. Are you cheating on my son?" There was a sour smell coming from the kitchen. I couldn't help but cover my nose. Where did this stinky thing come from? It's making me stink. When my mother-in-law heard what I said, her eyes trembled and she gritted her teeth and said, "You shameless person, fooling around with men. Just putting on makeup and buying something is just fooling around. Her son David has slept with other people, but he is still a chaste woman." I glanced at her and said lazily, "I advise you to shut up. I'm itching to do it lately." My son Andy came out of the room, holding a big sword in his hand, shouting, "The bad woman is back, I will destroy you in the name of light." I lifted up my son Andy with just one hand. After all, he is only 5 years old. Compared with me, he is like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, overestimating his own abilities. I grabbed him and spanked him twice on the butt, and he burst into tears. My mother-in-law was frightened by my action and started crying and screaming again. It's so unfair. A vicious mother beat her own son Andy. I won't live anymore. I remained indifferent and watched her perform. She glared at me viciously and raised her hand to hit me in the face. I smiled contemptuously, grabbed her wrist with my backhand, and slapped her twice on the cheek. My mother-in-law was hit so hard that her head shook to the side, her eyes full of disbelief. "You hit Andy, and you hit me." I smiled and said, "Yeah, I have no morals. I advise you to stay away from me. Be careful that I may get itchy hands again." Sitting on the sofa with my arms folded, I saw my mother-in-law sneak into the room to make a phone call. Maybe she wanted to ask her son David to come back and punish me. I used to be afraid, but now, I have no worries. To me, David is nothing but a joke. The moment David walked in, I received a photo from the private investigator on my phone. High-end mobile phones are good. The photo was taken so clearly. The tall man held the woman's cheeks with both hands and kissed her passionately. He wanted to have a great harmony of life without even closing the curtains. But looking at David's grim face, he must be unsatisfied because he didn't get to eat the meat. "Elena, you dare to hit my mother? You are tired of living." Ever since he found out my mother had no money, he stopped pretending in front of me. His stock has been booming recently. Thousands or tens of thousands of dollars are deposited into the account every day. But without the startup capital, his speed in making money obviously could not keep up with Kelly's speed in spending money. In his previous life, he bought the house in New Garden directly and gave it to Kelly. In this life, he can only support her by renting a house. I pinched my finger bones, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to feed his greed. Until he falls into the abyss and there is no way back, it is time to end the game. I touched the non-existent tears at the corners of my eyes. "Hubby, don't be angry. I was late because I went to buy you a birthday present. I didn't expect that Mom would say I was fooling around with other men as soon as I walked in. I was so angry that even my mom couldn't slander my love for you. I almost vomited because of what I said, but I still had to pretend that I loved him very much." "Gift? Where did you get the money?" David opened the box I handed him and his eyes lit up instantly. Inside was a watch from a big brand with a market value of $50,000. Why do I know he wants this? Of course it was taken for me by a private investigator. Last week he took Kelly on a business trip and the two of them went shopping. He bought her 2 Chanel bags. There happened to be a high-end watch store next door, and he fell in love with the watch at first sight. But at that time, Kelly coaxed me away with various reasons. Seeing the watch, his tone naturally softened. Wife, this is very expensive, right? Of course. It'll cost $50,000. My mother-in-law, who was hiding in the room, immediately got furious and rushed out to hit me in the face. You are such a jinx, and you said you didn't find any other men. Where did you get the money? I pulled David over. A loud slap greeted him on the face and I tried hard to suppress the smile. Hubby, are you okay? Mom was like that just now, and she didn't even listen to my explanation. Fortunately, my husband protected me this time. David was stunned by the slap from his mother. The neatly combed hair was messed up, which showed how hard the slap was. That's great, why didn't you hit it a few more times? Mom, what are you doing? We haven't even finished talking yet, why are you doing this? Son David, I feel bad for you. You work so hard outside, but your wife is so extravagant, buying this and that. Hubby, I didn't spend your money. I earned all this money myself. Your salary is so low, less than 50,000 yuan a year, how do you make money? Who knows if you make money by spreading your legs? I saw you chatting and laughing with a young man the other day as you got into the car. A man may be proud that his family has a happy red flag flying and there are colorful flags flying outside, but he will never allow his wife to cheat on him. Sure enough, his face changed drastically after hearing this. Elena, you actually stole someone? His angry eyes looked like the bulging eyes of a toad, ugly and disgusting. I lowered my head in grievance. That's my cousin James. I made so much money because I listened to him. He said the stock market would break through 10,000 points and asked me to hurry up and enter the market. When he heard the word stock, David's angry expression immediately disappeared. James? Didn't he go abroad? Yes, he came back from studying abroad in Financial Street. He worked at a securities company and had inside information. I was led by him and earned nearly 100,000 yuan in just 1 month. It's just that the principal was too small, otherwise I could have earned more. Seeing that he didn't believe me, I immediately called my cousin. Sister, is my brother-in-law happy to see the watch? James, tell your brother-in-law that you made this money with me. Does your brother-in-law suspect me? James, brother-in-law, don't blame my sister. My sister is very honest. Last time my aunt was sick, my sister borrowed money everywhere. I saw that she had a hard time, so I helped her. After hanging up the phone, David came over immediately. Wife, don't be angry, it's all my mom's fault. She's getting old and confused. I hit him hard, looked up at my mother-in-law and said, Mom, I know you misunderstood. I bought you a gold bracelet. The big bracelet weighing 100 grams immediately made my mother-in-law smile. Honey, did my cousin tell me what stocks are good recently? Seeing that he had taken the bait, I narrowed my eyes and said, James said that there will be a new stock listed soon. It's Aluminum of China, a big brand. The stock price will at least increase tenfold after listing. You can subscribe immediately. David's eyes rolled rapidly after hearing this. After dinner, he hid in his mother-in-law's room. I leaned against the door and listened to their discussion. It turns out that in order to protect against me, David's stock account was also opened in his mother's name. He used his salary card, and now he is persuading his mother to take out her coffin book. The mother-in-law was still hesitant and asked him to try it first. I laughed. The wolf's appetite is grown little by little. From that day on, I started buying brand names and various jewelry every day, and dressed David up from head to toe. I was so happy that I bought some things for my mother-in-law, such as a big gold bracelet and a big gold chain, and bought toys and snacks for Andy. He called me Mom all the time and was very affectionate. He looks like a nouveau riche. I told David that I had mortgaged my house and gave all the proceeds to my cousin to subscribe to Aluminum Corporation of China. David saw that I was becoming more and more successful, and he became so anxious that blisters started to appear on the corners of his mouth. Things have been mysterious these past few days. The private detective handed over the evidence he collected to me. I was so happy. In order to get out the working capital as quickly as possible, David used his identity as a purchasing manager to replace a batch of imported goods in his company with domestic ones. He even asked Kelly to make a fake real estate certificate in order to apply for a large credit card. The two of them raised nearly 800,000 yuan in total, and then couldn't wait to use their connections to subscribe to all of China Aluminum's shares. He didn't dare to look for James for fear of being discovered by me. Wait until the stock goes public in April. As expected, the prices continued to rise in just a few days. David had enough capital, and in just 2 months he had more than $3 million in his account. If he stopped at this moment, he would not only not lose money, but also make a lot of money. But greed is the devil. It is easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. He and Kelly were completely lost in the dream of making a fortune every day. And I finally rushed to their company with those intimate photos of their affair. Everyone in David's company knows me. Seeing me come in with an angry look on my face, the receptionist was a little flustered. My boxing lessons over the past 6 months have been quite effective, and the skinny receptionist can't stop me at all. Where's David? Where's Kelly? Rushing into the office area, I saw Kelly showing her new bag to her colleagues. Oh, my boyfriend bought it for me. It's not expensive, only $30,000. The envied voice of the people around him rang out, your boyfriend is so awesome, he's the boss, right? It's just SOSO. I only make a few $100,000 a day. I don't want to be a shrew. But sometimes it's really nice to be a crazy bitch. As soon as I walked in, I grabbed her thick, long, curly hair. Really, no one told her that if she was a mistress, she should not let her hair down, otherwise she would be punished by the original wife at any time. Someone grabbed her hair and she screamed in pain, who is it? Help me. When he saw my face, he suddenly became speechless like a quail. Elena, why are you here? Kelly has seen me. I didn't want to say a word. I pushed her to the ground and started punching her well-maintained face from both sides. I've endured it for so long, and now I can finally vent my anger. After 5 or 6 slaps in a row, her pretty face instantly became swollen. If you are a mistress, you have to think about this day. The reason I resisted divorcing David was that I wanted to exercise my rights as the original wife and vent out my resentment, anger, and pain from my past life to them. I'm going to slap your face today and see how you seduce someone else's husband. None of her colleagues came forward to help. This is Manager David's wife, I've seen her before. I said Kelly and Manager David have something going on. I was like, how can a little girl like her afford such a nice bag? Boyfriend, turns out he's someone else's husband. You're still a college student. You're really bringing shame to the school. The gossip stabbed into her chest like a knife. Kelly cried, I didn't, Brother E and I are in true love. He said he has no feelings for you, you both sleep in separate rooms, he loves me now, he's going to divorce and marry me soon. Divorce, does he deserve it? We have 2 children, who are you? You are just a toy for men to kill time. There was a hint of pride in her eyes, who am I? I'm pregnant with his child, and he will kick you out soon. This is what I've been waiting for. David was clearly in the company, but he hid away like a coward, leaving Kelly alone to face everyone's curses. After a long time, the company's CEO came out with David with a stern look on his face and led us into the conference room. As soon as I walked in the door, I started crying. The delicate makeup on her face was smudged and the neat clothes were messy. With everyone in the company witnessing, I told them all the grievances I had suffered over the years. David, when you were in college, you couldn't afford to eat and only had 2 tails of rice every day. I shared half of my food with you. After graduating from college, you said that you were from another place and had no advantages. It was me who, with a shameless face, begged your uncle to find you a job. Before we got married, you said your family was poor and you didn't want a dowry or a wedding, just because you were ambitious. After getting married, you said your family was urging you to have a child, and as long as you gave birth to the child, someone else would take care of the rest. As a result, I ate 1 extra chicken leg and your mother said I was a spendthrift. Have you ever seen a spendthrift girl who only eats a chicken leg? Now that you've made money, you're using our property to support a mistress, and I'm buying you a watch and your mother gold. This is how you treat me. I tore apart all his hypocrisy over the years. I want to see how this face-conscious man ends up. That's enough, Elena. Don't think I'll be grateful for your small favors. You just look down on me and think I'm inferior to you in every way. Now I'm different. You have money? I'm richer than you. I want to divorce you. I picked up the ashtray on the table and smashed it accurately on his forehead. He couldn't dodge in time, and he covered his forehead and jumped up and down. Finally, he couldn't maintain his elegant and gentle personality, and raised his hand and rushed towards me. I saw a smile on Kelly's face from the corner of my eye. I laughed. In the past 6 months, I have been going to the boxing gym to practice for 3 hours every day. Now I can beat my personal trainer, all for this day. If a couple fights during a marriage, it is called a family dispute and even the police will not intervene. Especially with so many people witnessing me, I want to carry out a blatant domestic violence. In a flash, I bent down, raised my leg and kicked David in the side of the waist. The pain started to drive him crazy. He rushed forward regardless, trying to take advantage of the natural advantages of men. Elena, I'm your husband, you hit me. Left hook, right attack on the ribs, a set of combination punches, specifically looking for soft spots to attack. To outsiders, it looks like a fight, but in fact it is a one-sided attack. At the right time, I showed my fair face and took his slap. Then, I grabbed his wrist and threw him over my shoulder onto the glass table in their company. Bang! There was a loud bang, and I chopped him on the lower body with a knife. It's better to waste the 2 tails of meat that you can't control. The farce was over. Kelly was frightened by my ruthlessness and her legs went limp. She hid in the corner and cried, Elena, I was wrong. Don't hit me. The company eventually called the police. When the police arrived, they saw the mess on the ground and David rolling on the ground. My hair was disheveled, my right cheek was red and swollen, and my lipstick was smeared from the corner of my mouth to the base of my ear. I looked a little worse off than David. Given the severity of the scene, the police took us to the hospital. I shrugged and nodded to follow. Kelly supported David and said, You are intentionally causing harm. We are going to sue you. After a thorough examination, David was found to have no injuries other than pain in his lower body. Instead, everyone knew that the adulterer and the adulteress beat the original wife together. After all, such an exciting scene had already been photographed and uploaded to the forum by gossipers in the company. I feel a little regretful that there are no short videos yet, otherwise these 2 faces of theirs would definitely be cyberbullied by netizens. The police finally concluded that it was an internal dispute between a husband and wife, with verbal education being the main approach. Kelly was not convinced. She beat us both like this, I want compensation. The police officer looked at him with disdain and said, People like you who violate social order should apologize to Elena immediately. Kelly, with tears in her eyes, apologized reluctantly, I'm sorry. I lazily replied, I don't accept it. At the police station, I called a lawyer and bodyguard, and in the presence of everyone, I formally filed for divorce. David held the divorce agreement drawn up by the lawyer, his eyes wide open. Did you know this a long time ago? Know what? Cheating or transferring property? You're kidding me. Who is playing tricks on whom? Transferring marital property, having an illicit relationship with a third party, and calling each other husband and wife. I glanced at Kelly's belly. Here is another piece of evidence that is enough to charge you with bigamy. Kelly was afraid that I would go crazy, so she huddled in the corner, holding her belly. What do you want? David asked through gritted teeth. I smiled joyfully at them, and seeing them holding their breath as I wished, I felt relaxed all over. The common property of the couple is divided 40% and 60% respectively, 60% for me and 40% for you. The custody of the 2 children, Andy is yours and Luna is mine. The gift you gave her will be mine in half, and it will be converted into cash and given to me. I took the documents prepared by the lawyer and pushed them over. If you have any objections, I don't mind wasting time with you. I smiled at Kelly and said, How pitiful. Your child was born as an illegitimate child. With this name, he will be a poor creature for the rest of his life. Kelly was not willing to be a lover who was not in the spotlight. Brother E, we have money now, you should divorce her quickly. They did have money. Half of the money from large cash withdrawals and embezzlement of public funds was in David's fucking account, and the other half was in Kelly's account. This part does not belong to the common property of the couple, so I really have no way to ask for a division. Okay, I'll sign it. He was restless. It seems that the trick I learned, monkey stealing peaches, is quite useful. I listed the common assets of the couple. In addition to the 100,000 cash in David's account and the salary he gave to his mother, the most money was spent on Kelly. And there are only 500 yuan in bank card assets under my name. David couldn't believe it. Where's your money? I blinked innocently and said, I bought you bags, watches, and gold. I have receipts. This is not considered a gift. It is considered the common property of the couple. Seeing his expression turn purple, I couldn't help but laugh. I want to thank Kelly for being really good at spending money. When we divide our joint property, I can only get about 200,000 yuan. Now she has spent nearly 1 million yuan. I got an extra 600,000 yuan for no reason. What a good person, he took in a scumbag and created wealth. David reluctantly sold a few profitable stocks and transferred the money to me within a month. As soon as the money arrived, I didn't want to waste even a minute and went to the Civil Affairs Bureau immediately. I brought 2 bodyguards in black, and he was holding his lover's arm. Under the strange combination and gaze, I officially divorced him. Looking at the divorce certificate, I breathed a sigh of relief. I will never again ruin my life because of moral kidnapping. Kelly proudly took David's arm and looked at me provocatively. You don't know, Brother Yi's stocks have increased several times. If you don't beg us, we will recommend a few to you. I sneered, he's already so rich, if he doesn't marry you, wouldn't you be miserable? Don't let that happen, you'll lose both your money and your man, that would be even more miserable. A man who is not loyal in his marriage is a rubbish person with no credibility. As expected, Kelly's fingers tightly grasped David's arm. I nodded and said, that's great. I've brought all my documents today. Why don't you get one and leave? I stood in front of them, as if watching the fun. Kelly couldn't stand my ridicule and actually dragged David to get the marriage certificate. Crying and making a fuss, sobbing and wailing. Seeing the 2 people get the red book, I clapped my hands in response. The bitch deserves the dog, forever and ever, I wish you will be locked up forever. Outside the door, my cousin James drove a red sports car and handed me a bright red rose. Sister, congratulations on your new life. I walked away under the jealous eyes of David and Kelly. Sister, it's such a shame to give those watches and gold to this scumbag. I curled the corners of my lips and smiled ostentatiously. They are all fake, why should I feel bad about it? I'm not stupid. I just wanted to stimulate David to fall into the trap. There is no reason to really please their family. The bags and watches were hard goods from Guangzhou, buy one get one free. The gold was real, but it was authentic gold covered in silver. Each one was only a few hundred or a few thousand yuan, which made them believe that I had made a fortune. How nice! China Aluminum Corporation will teach them a lesson. Sister, I listened to you and sold all my stocks before the National Day. I made tens of millions of dollars. What should we do next? Are you interested in working as a real estate agent with me? The bull market of 2007 is coming to an end, but the real estate industry is taking off and will usher in a golden period of rapid growth. Listen to my sister, that's right. No, I missed it once. Just this time, I thank fate for its gift. During this nearly 1 year, except for the initial 30,000, I sold off my shares gradually when Guangzhou Shipyard International was at 70 yuan. He made nearly 20 million in one go. Years ago, my mother sold her old house and got over 1 million yuan, and I invested it in it over and over again. In 2007, I just bought it with my eyes closed. It's just a matter of how much it will increase. I knew very little about stocks and bought a few that were showing good growth. By October, the money in the account was approaching 50 million. I really became a multimillionaire overnight. My mother saw the number on the bank card and took me to Putuo Mountain overnight. I knelt before the Buddha, kowtowed sincerely, donated some incense money to the temple, and also sponsored 10 poor students on a related relief website. To be rich, one must be kind and have a good heart. My mother had never been so wealthy. She took my aunt and Luna to travel around Shanghai every day. I let them choose and view houses. No matter where you buy a house, as long as the family lives together, it is home. When I had some time, I went back to my husband's room. The house is going to be handed over to Wooing June. I thought there was no one in the house. When we divorced, we agreed that David would bring his people to move out as soon as possible. When I pushed the door open, I saw my ex-father-in-law eating melon seeds and drinking white wine in the restaurant, while my arrogant ex-mother-in-law, with her hair loose, was squatting on the ground picking up trash. There were bruises all over his face. Seeing so many of us coming into the room, she covered her face with her hands and whispered, "Elena." And the former father-in-law cursed, "Who are you? Get out of my house." I slammed the contract in my hand on the table and said, "This house has been sold and will be handed over today. You should get out now." My ex-father-in-law raised his foot and kicked my ex-mother-in-law at the ankle. "You lied to me." The two of them started a full-scale fight right in front of me. From their mutual insults, I learned that my former father-in-law's hometown was flooded, and he sneaked into the city carrying a snakeskin bag. When I saw my ex-mother-in-law dancing with her hips swung in the square, I slapped her in the face and dragged her back home. Kelly hated her ex-mother-in-law's style, and now she had hooked up with an old man who liked to beat, scold and drink, so she encouraged David to kick them both out. They had no place to live, so they thought of my house. Fortunately, I had foreseen their style, and the rest was left to wooing June. Every evildoer will be punished by another evildoer. Before leaving, Andy cautiously poked his head out of the house. "Mother." I raised my eyebrows. It had been a long time since I heard Andy call me Mom. "Why, don't you want me as your mother anymore? Don't you have a beautiful aunt already?" There was a moment of confusion on his face. "Mom, why do you want my sister to be with you and not me? Grandma said I'm the heir to the family. Why do you want to give me up even if it means losing money? In my heart, you are all my children, regardless of your importance. If I have to say, I prefer Luna's kindness and beauty." My ex-mother-in-law was afraid that I would kidnap the child, so she pulled Andy over and said, "Elena, don't even think about taking Andy away." I pursed my lips and squatted down. "Andy, do you want to come with me? As Andy's mother, it is my responsibility to teach him to be kind." His big eyes were filled with tears and he nodded slightly. I stood up and wrote down a phone number for them. "Call if you need anything." Turning to leave the house, I took a deep breath. The building is about to collapse and the child is innocent, but I still can't bear to see my own flesh and blood deviate from the direction of life. A year later, the long-awaited phone call came. The old voice of David, the ex-husband, rang out, "Elena, for the sake of our marriage, please lend me 1 million. "No, 500,000 will do." I said coldly, "Number 200,000, and I'll sell Andy to you." "I agree." I went to see David with $200,000 in cash. He was once a glorious man, but now he was wearing dusty clothes. His straight back bent deeply, his eyes were dim and cloudy, and he rubbed his hands together. Andy squatted quietly on the ground, his exposed arms were covered with bruises. When he saw me, his big eyes were filled with tears, and he said hesitantly, "Mom, I was wrong." I threw my bag at David's feet, picked up Andy and walked away. "Elena, I'm sorry." The man's endless regretful voice came from behind. "If possible, for the sake of the 2 children, can we start over?" I didn't look back and said coldly, "This is not a garbage station. We don't accept garbage." I learned from Andy that my father-in-law accidentally beat my mother-in-law to death after drinking. Domestic violence is a conflict between husband and wife, but murder is not. His father-in-law was arrested and imprisoned on the spot, so Andy had to live with David and others. Andy was spoiled by his grandmother since he was a child, but after several suppressions by Kelly, he began to become sensible and obedient. Because he no longer has a mother who can protect him. People often say that if you have a stepmother, you will have a stepfather. Kelly was staying at home to take care of her pregnancy. Whenever she was unhappy, she would beat and scold Andy, and ask him to serve tea, bring water, and cut fruit. What a bad luck. It must have killed your grandmother. What's the use of my son Andy? I will give birth to my own child soon. From now on, you are the older brother, and you should give in to your younger brother. The water spilled that day, and Kelly reached out to pinch Andy, but stepped on the water stain on the ground. His entire belly hit the ground heavily. Andy stared blankly at Kelly, who was wailing on the ground, and did not move until the blood beneath her stained the carpet red. He then called the police. "Uncle Police, my aunt fell down." When David rushed to the hospital, Kelly's baby's umbilical cord had fallen off and died in her womb. Because she had waited too long, her uterus ruptured and had to be removed. She would never be able to have children again. The police checked the surveillance footage at home and found that Kelly had a tendency to abuse children, so they gave her a warning and her reputation became even worse. And from that day on, the bull market began to hit its limit. David's glory days did not last long. China Aluminum Corporation's performance has been halved, and high credit card debts are looming. Kelly was originally fired from the company because of the mistress incident. In order to avoid family debt, she sold all the valuable things in the house, took the money, and ran away to Hong Kong with a small decoration boss. Before leaving, she exposed David's embezzlement of company funds. His former company took him to court. Finally, he closed all his stocks and took out the little money he had left, which was not enough to fill 1/10 of the company's capital. He wants $200,000 because he wants to run away. I just called the police. In the car, Andy put his cheek against my leg and said, "Mom, Andy knows I was wrong. I deliberately didn't call 120 that day. I don't want a younger brother, but I am willing to be Luna's older brother now." When the twins were born, Andy was born first and is the older brother. Luna was born later and is the younger sister. It's okay, Mom forgives you. Children are like a blank piece of paper when they are born. If there is anything wrong, it is us selfish and greedy parents who are wrong. On the day the court sentenced the defendant, I went to the court with my lawyer. In the end, David was convicted of embezzling company property and misappropriating public funds, and was sentenced to 7 years in prison for both crimes. When he saw me sitting in the gallery, his eyes lit up with a different kind of brilliance. "Elena, I knew you wouldn't give up on me." My lawyer came up with a change to the custody agreement. "Sign it. Your children won't be able to take the civil service exam because of you. I don't want them to have your last name. It's better for them to have my last name." His eyes darkened, his thin lips moved, and he signed his name with trembling fingers. "I regret it. I was wrong." He slapped himself hard in the judge's seat, and the sound echoed throughout the courtroom. And I was wondering where to take my family to celebrate in the evening. Not long after David was imprisoned, he was found dead in his cell. Acute myocardial infarction. Maybe in my dreams at midnight, I was still regretting why I didn't sell all my stocks in October. In that case, he would still be a multimillionaire, with a beautiful wife, a luxurious house, and everything he wants. I collected his body and his ashes. It just so happened that at that time it was popular to scatter ashes into the sea and enjoy the freedom from being restrained. I generously picked a beautiful beach for him so that he could enjoy the freedom in the wind. The following year, when I traveled to Hong Kong and passed by a red light district, I saw Kelly wearing black stockings, smoking a cigarette, and flirting with a man. "Boss, we agreed on 200, why are you giving me 10 less?" "Beauty, I don't have any change. I'll come back to you next time." In the midst of the smoke, I seemed to see her in my past life. She smiled sweetly. "A phoenix that falls into the water is no better than a chicken, a poor creature that is not loved." Indeed, she went through my life and she really became a chicken. When my son Andy turned 8 years old, I sent him to live with his uncle who was a soldier. This is the last kindness you can do as a mother. He and I have a shallow mother-son relationship to begin with, and I just hope that he can be a good person in the future. The house my mother bought was completed. I took Luna with me to collect the room with her, looking at the familiar road. When the car stopped at Hunan Road, the sparse and dense leaves of the plane trees cut the sunlight and broke it into a galaxy. At the intersection of history and modernity, this unique corner enjoys tranquility. I was shaken awake. Luna is the real heroine. Thanks to my daughter's vision, I live in a scarce villa that will cost 300,000 renminbi per square meter in the future. It is true that a blessed person will not enter a house without blessings. I kissed her hard on the face. Mom's little lucky star. Luna hugged me tenderly and said, "Mom is the phoenix of Nirvana, and she is Luna's god." The sunlight broke through the dark sky and shone into the hall of the villa. My mother was as excited as a 3-year-old child. "Buy a big corner sofa here, and use green curtains, which are good for the eyes. The master bedroom is for my daughter, and Luna will live in this room. We will make it a princess room." Luna's clear voice came, "We have to leave one room for brother." It's great that even though my marriage failed, I still found happiness.